I'm Lynne Knight, and my book, The Persistence of Longing, was published by Terrapin Books in 2016. I'd like to thank Diane Lockwood for including me among the poets in her press. The book is, as I'm sure you could tell from the title, about longing, my longing, others' longing. And even though most of the poems are written in the first person, they are not all about me. I have borrowed from the lives of others. The first poem I'll read is called Silkscreen with Crows. I haven't eaten 100 plates of crow, so I can sit here alone wondering if you'll call, or if when you do I'll answer, or if when I answer we'll be able to make it through 5 minutes without recrimination. The crow tasted as you'd expect. The worst was gristle stuck to bone. That and the beak. Crows have a multi-purpose beak. They can crack, shred, chisel, probe, strain, spear, tweeze. In this way, the beak seemed a reenactment of the years with you, going in for the kill. I might seem to mock you, relying on the literal, but I said I would eat crow, and I've eaten crow by the white plateful. You, however, will never call, and the moment regret begins, I'll remember the 100 plates, the unnervingly large crows, and make them disappear, the way they did on that silk painting we both loved, the one we saw arm in arm the first week we were together, when flight meant only what we would do again, and soon, my body against your body, lifting from the bed, as if we were winged, beyond impediment. The next poem is a tribute to women for the many centuries of silence that they have endured, and it's called The Silence of Women. Finally, the silence of women began to disappear. It crumbled like old bread. It evaporated like steam from broccoli. It rose like the scent of turmeric from kitchens. It mixed in with birdsong. It flew over rivers and oceans. It settled in prairies. It poured out like water trapped in leaves. The silence was one language. All the women on earth spoke it. They had mastered the tongue. But it vanished in the sound of vacuum cleaners. It lifted like smoke from chimneys. In winter, it covered the snow. It was white then, so at first, no one noticed. More snow, they thought, longing for spring. When spring came, the silence burst into cherry blossoms, plum blossoms, apple. This world of ours, the women cried, and their stories rushed out like breath held almost too long. I think most poets, if not all poets, have a subject or two or three that they keep returning to, and in my own case, it's the unfinished house that I grew up in, and it was really quite unfinished. Dirt floors, no plumbing to speak of, no electricity to speak of, and I am old, but I wasn't born in the 1800s, so it was traumatic to live there in the midst of finished houses, and I have written poem after poem after poem about it, and this is another one of those, and it's called Late Explanation to Old Lovers. It's not easy dragging a house on your back, but it's still unfinished, so where should I set it down? How should I stop the long haul. That's what one of them said to me once. I'm in it for the long haul. He had no idea I had a house on my back. He thought he'd given me shelter. That was enough. I tried to tell him. I'd say, this house, and he'd interrupt, not that again, thinking he could snap me out of it, out from under it. Who knew? By then, my father was dead. Shame isn't easily cremated. I could feel it there in the ashes, heavy, gritty, like the years of grime the house had acquired while I hauled it along. I left the long haul one, found another. This time I kept the house secret, pretended I'd grown up in a house like everyone else's, floors, windows, doors. But he kept feeling the air around me. Something's there, he said one night, something I can't get at. I grabbed the storm door that should have protected the actual door, which lay on the dirt floor back in the shadows, like a man come undone, like my father. So you know what happened to that one, how fast his, this just isn't working, speeches came. The house shifted on its cinder blocks, but no wind was ever strong enough to carry it away. Still the case. When someone says, my skin, I think of the house I walk in, the trouble it takes to fit into a car, a theater, aisles in a grocery store. The hitch in my gait is the slope of the roof and the hole where stairs should have been. Some nights I fly in my dreams, the house a shadow so heavy I'm about to fall, but I don't fall. Or if I do, I wake, and the house, being solid, oh, the lovers who tried and tried to get their arms around me, stays. And the last poem I'll read is a poem called The History of Longing, which could also be called The Persistence of Longing, like the title of the book. I keep longing to fall in love all over again. It's not the sex, the thinking I'm going to die if he doesn't touch me, if I can't have him in me, if I can't feel his heat all day, all night long. It's the stories. It's telling the stories, his to me, mine to him, the whole long, complicated history of how we came to be inside each other's arms. The lovers who failed us, the lovers we failed, the mothers and grandmothers who stood behind us so silently and steadfastly, we sometimes forgot they were there. The fathers with their woes, their absences, their forbidding, and that time we sneaked from the house and looked up at the sky, believing we could fly. So we flew, low above the road, and far from the moon and its light, but still we flew. And the first kisses, my secret joy at the wet, his at going hard, the lies and betrayals, the treacheries and deceptions, the longing, the knowing it won't last, it can't possibly last, fires burn out for want of fuel, for want of oxygen, but believing nevertheless this will be the one time the laws of love are denied. So telling everything, the shames and the sorrows, the secrets, desires, night after night, day after day, in beds, on beaches, in parks, on bridges, on streets whose names we don't notice, telling, as if we could bring it all back start over with the one we know we were destined for, until the next story, the next in the endless history of longing. Thank you.